Coming up on today's After News, the Wyatt Sick6 Invade Pat McAfee show.
Swerve Strickland's working an indie dream match.
A former WWE star is now an AEW regular.
And WWE bringing multiple UK independent stars.
I'm Adam Wilborn.
I'm Michael Hamflett.
And this is the After News. So obviously, Hamflett, everyone this week is talking about the Wyatt Sick6. They massacred people to close out Raw this week. And they've not stopped there. They actually invaded Pat McAfee's show yesterday. The end of the show was Pat McAfee doing his usual stuff and then suddenly going, what the flip's that? I didn't say flip. And then suddenly you got the pew, all the lights went out and the show just went off the air, seemingly indicating that the Wyatt Sick6 have corrupted other areas of WWE and WWE personnel. Also, a very interesting update, I should mention at the same time, from PW Insider regarding the victims of the Wyatt Sick6, because I know a load of people were speculating, going, oh, who's that? Was that Gunther? Is Braun involved in all this?
Yeah.
Apparently, the only official victim that we need to make note of is, of course, Chad Gable. Everyone else, according to this PW Insider report, were extras brought in by WWE for this segment. None of the victims were talents from the NXT roster or anyone who was going to be introduced into storylines in the coming weeks. But as a result of Chad Gable being murdered, he's been replaced in that Money in the Bank qualifier by Ilya Dragunov for next week's Raw. But yes, the Wyatt Sick6 influence is spreading. I'm really enjoying this.
As it should do as well.
Yes.
Right? So we're going to be previewing this Friday's SmackDown later on, wherever you get your podcasts. And indeed, of course, there will be talk of CM Punk. There'll be talk of the Money in the Bank qualifiers taking place on a big episode of SmackDown from the Allstate Arena in Chicago. Hot night in the Windy City. But we touched on this in a Wyatt Sick6 video. I would love you to go and watch on our main channel where we debated this in the kind of immediacy of their Raw massacre. It has to be this scale of impact. It has to. We had this with Retribution years ago, and frankly, we've had it with every Bray Wyatt idea rollout, and this is, of course, a legacy idea of his. If you don't kind of have it envelop the whole universe, it immediately ticks away at the realism. Retribution cannot sign contracts. The Wyatt family could not be Raw exclusive Terrifiers. That's not how these things are supposed to work. If this was happening in your place of work, if right now we're recording this video, imagine if we'd set that up. But that happened, we'd have to express concern on the next video. It wouldn't be like, anyway, we've got a list coming later on, enjoy it. Adam Wilborn's disappeared and I'm never going to see him again. So this is how you sell the story. Supernatural or otherwise, you have to sell it as a threat. The commentators tonight should acknowledge that what they saw on Raw is like nothing they've ever seen. I think it's now, I'm hoping this is the case, Michael Cole's almost flippant judgment of that last one at Clash at the Castle. A massacre, that's a bit troubling. Not anymore, mate. It actually happened. Be frightened.
Security all are the shot tonight.
Yeah, this is it. Punk's going to make his big return, but how he potentially squares it, or do we get one of those long sweeping backstage entrances, but he walks past what you see a wall of security in Gorilla or something, armed to the teeth, of these people just to try and stop anything happening again, because it's a threat you don't know. We didn't see the attacks. It's always the threats that you don't know that are worse in your imagination. So I think this is another very effective way. And worth mentioning as well, of course, if you cast your minds back, and I know we always do, to the Rock, Cody Rhodes, Las Vegas kickoff, all that sort of stuff. It was on, I believe, a Pat McAfee show or an interview where Rock first coined Cody Crybabies. McAfee is not afraid of folding the fiction into his little world. I also did as well a bunch of chuds online that thought there was some sort of conspiracy theory at play. They were they're talking about the future president of his goddamn country and they took it over here. It's the Wyatts, mate.
Yeah.
We just like wrestling.
Yeah, wrestling stuff. But I think some people also will be revealed that Gunther's not necessarily going to be involved in this now, at least, because you don't want to A, spread yourself too thin, and B, some people aren't a fan of this sort of thing, and some wrestlers might not gel very well with it. But Chad Gable feels like he's an exciting addition to whatever this is.
Yes. Moving over to, I guess, more reality-based stuff for the time being.
Yes.
AEW World Heavyweight Champion Swerve Strickland is going back to the Indies for something of a dream match. He's going to be working a House of Glory match in July, of course, very much his sort of domain, and we've seen him make casual appearances there, but he's going to be wrestling. He's going to be working Amazing Red
What?
I know. Like, it's sort of one of them, it's a clash of generations.
Yeah.
Like, Amazing Red, such an innovator. Swerve Strickland, the current AEW World Champion. I will say, this takes place on Friday, July the 26th. So he might not be the World Champion by then, or he might indeed be on the road back to it through the Owen or through goodness knows what. Like, obviously, him and Will Ospreay will do Battle at Forbidden Door next weekend. So he might be going in without the belt, but he will be going in with Prince Nana to take on Amazing Red. They've both got like legacy with House of Glory. It's going to be taking place in Jamaica, in Queens, which, like, I love that it's called Jamaica, but I like it there anyway because it reminds me of a great trip to New York when you're trying to get from JFK to the city. You get to see it. Oh God, I wish I was there. Frankly, I wish I was here. Swerve Strickland versus Amazing Red, and like again. AEW have, I think, always been. I know it's not perfect, and I know often you see cards where an AEW wrestler is initially named and then they're needed, so they're taken. But this one getting so heavily promoted for House of Glory and Swerve being such a big part of it is such a cool thing for an audience to get a guy who is, like, in this year, but certainly over the last maybe 5-6 years, risen to very deserved prominence to be back in that spot. This is going to be one of the hottest tickets of that weekend.
Absolutely,
sure.
yeah. An awesome show, awesome match. Love Amazing Red, like you say, a real game changer in the industry back in the day. I still remember, like, I was unaware of him for a long time, and then I saw him on like TNA and things like that, and he's just jaw-dropping. It must be nice for someone like Swerve, presumably who was influenced somewhat by Amazing Red.
I would say so.
To face him.
That's
such a cool match.
And like the thing about Amazing Red, like obviously because he broke through so young and in such a way where like the industry needed guys like him in the very early 2000s. He's only recently like worked the likes of Santana and Moose Farley, I think it was as well. And it's like, it's still Red, but he's still got it all. So you know, I would expect Swerve's going to get an absolutely thunderous response in those tiny ways. It's great seeing wrestlers that have like been there and end up coming back there as these like all of a sudden enormous televisions. It's like they've got. I always think of like the solid gold Homer Simpson. Yeah, they suddenly look that much taller and that much more bejeweled, and it's like, oh my god. So yeah, if you're in the Jamaica Queens area, that's lucky. It looks goated. But you get yourself along to see Swerve at House of Glory.
Definitely. And let's move on now to Lio Rush. He's made sporadic appearances within AEW, of course. Showed up on a Battle Royal initially. Showed up on came back recently and was involved in the Battle Royal. Then had a match, I believe, with Roddy Strong.
Always kind of in and out, always fleeting, isn't it?
Well, the good news is, Vibe Select have come through the report saying he's going to become basically an AEW regular. Lots of people are asking about his status within AEW because he's never had the All Elite graphic, of course. But they haven't confirmed he's signed with AEW. Yes, he is expected to be a regular with them as things stand. He was factored into the most recent intro that aired on AEW Collision. Creative has plans. Apparently Leo made a positive impression towards Tony Khan with his return recently and spoke with him, and more expected from him, which is great because we think he's such a talent. This I always worry because we're hypocrites every day, let's be honest, but this constant conversation about how many wrestlers can AEW afford, like I know people don't like it sometimes in the comments, be kind, about like when we discuss roster bloat, and it's this idea of like, no, not everybody thinks you can have too many wrestlers, there's always space for more, there's always TV time. Lio Rush is like a very unique figure in that he always feels like an impact player. Me and Sidge were discussing not just that he does this in AEW where he comes in and immediately it's just banger after banger after banger with respect to Sheamus, but Sidgwick recalled one of the only things he enjoyed about Wednesday Night War era 2019 NXT was Lio Rush's impact in the Cruiserweight division. It's awesome.
You know, we're all fans here of the kind of instantly iconic run with Bobby Lashley. Lashley.
Show him the glutes.
What's the age of Lio Rush now? Do we know?
Ooh.
Oh yeah, that's like 2019. We can do some quick maths on this. He'll be.
It's trying. I'll just double check.
I'd ask obviously not to sort of tee up an absolutely
29-year-old piece of gold. I want to be a cowboy, baby.
So
that's been a while.
All the very best Lio Rush. We're massive fans of him here at What Culture. Lovely fella as well.
Friend of the channel.
Yeah, and kind of like earning his spot in a sense, like he does appear and you kind of want more of him, and that's pro wrestling, isn't it? So
I'll not spoil anything, but you could be seeing more of him very soon.
And that's from the only real journalist in the game. So that's out there. And there are a few others that are looking to get to Will Bourne's level, and some of them are at Fight for Select. And they've come through with a report about WWE bringing in a raft of UK independent names recently, of course, at Clash at the Castle. WWE were based in Glasgow, and through some links with Gabe Sapolsky, of all people, Triple H drove a WWE initiative to bring in a bunch of wrestlers to that event. Some are there in a backstage capacity, some are paid on television. I'm going to try and get all the names here because it's great reporting from Fightful. They were able to confirm that some of these names might not be familiar to you, but to some, they'll be the biggest stars in their area. You've got Damien Corbin, the Progress Women's World Champion Rio, Aaron Echo, Andy Roberts, Shreddy, BT Gunn, RP Davis, Danny Jones, Mulligan. We're all there on invitation. And it was RP Davis who was one of the security guards helping AJ Styles to the back after obviously he'd been decked by...
because his head caved in.
Decimated by Cody Rhodes. There was a reference, but not really a reference, at the post-show press conference where Triple H was asked about people working as security guards, and he kind of made a crack that, like, it's crazy how so many security guards become wrestlers. You want to keep your eye on that sort of thing, and wrestlers themselves know these kind of opportunities. They're getting their faces and names known, and, well, I say known, obviously they were known enough to be brought in, but certainly getting face time with Triple H and with WWE, it smacks of the NXT UK launch, doesn't it? So many names all at once, like on a stage. It's like, right, we've got these guys. And we still hear of those terms. They kind of come up and then they go away again. NXT Europe. It feels like it's still a back pocket thing that Triple H wants to drive, but it's taken longer this time. Maybe he wants to try a different strategy because the first attempt wasn't successful.
Thanks, Brexit.
Well, thanks, Brexit. Thanks, WWE. You completely killed the scene over here. Some of it needed to die. But yeah, so maybe second time around NXT Europe will get going, and here's a list of names that potentially could be part of it. Who knows?
A cool thing for them to get involved with. Obviously, BT Gunn, WCPW legend.
Lots of Scott Reds there, being the Hydro, and
Yeah, BT's someone who obviously did stuff with like Joe Coffey and people like that. Joe Hendry as well in WCPW, so not surprised he was a very experienced head to bring in for something like that. I was lucky enough to meet Shreddy recently. Nice, lovely bloke as well.
Absolutely jacked.
Big time. He's off to Japan soon, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
But all the others, I'm sure just a great experience and just a cool thing for them to not just be like, we're just going to bring our own guys in. We might as well use the local talent and give them some experience of the WWE product, like you say, potentially with an eye for something going forward.
He's not giving up on global localization, Paul, is he? He wanted it once before and he's going to get it again.
Let us know your thoughts on that, though, and all of today's news stories in the comments section below. Like, share, subscribe. Why not check out this morning's news video, which is available right here.